Hello and welcome back to Stateside Sports. I'm joined today by Sid Meadows. Sid, I have known for a number of years. Sid, we met on what was podcast Morning Chat. It's now become the morning show, led by Mark. But man, it's so good to have you. I've had some people over the years, but we've never managed to sit and have a chat before about sports. So this is awesome.
Well, I'm excited. Thank you so much for inviting me here. It's good to see you, James.
It's brilliant. And I have to say, when you first start something new, I'd never done any podcasting, never done any kind of media before. And I always seen people like yourself, Amanda, Chris, and then obviously like later on, Mark. Clubhouse was a big thing back during COVID, but you could go to Clubhouse and I could pretty much learn the trade of podcasting from all your knowledge. What was it like hearing this, maybe even for the first time on Clubhouse, hearing this Scottish accent?
I think, one of the things that Clubhouse actually gave you the ability to do was to be connected to people around the world from different cultures that speak different languages. And after a while, it became very expected when somebody unmiked that you didn't know exactly what they were going to sound like, and they didn't look like me. They didn't necessarily have to sound like me because it wasn't an American app, right? It's a worldwide app. You've got a really distinctive Scottish accent, James. Very distinctive. Every time I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to get from you. So, which is great. So, but it was fun to hear all the different people's accents, and honestly, to learn a little bit about them and their culture, where they come from, because the world does seem like a really big place, but actually it's a really small place.
And I think Clubhouse maybe made it feel a bit smaller because you were able to connect with people from around the world. Because you're right, I do remember I wasn't the only British person in the room at times. And there was people from all over the States, obviously, and Canada, I want to say, and Europe. But big shout out to Mark and yourself, though. Podcast Morning Show is now like on LinkedIn, it's everywhere. And like, obviously you've got your own podcast as well, The Trend Report. How's that been going for you?
So well, first of all, let's talk about the Podcasting Morning Show. Mark's done a great job when he took over that and leading it. And now, rather than just being Clubhouse only, it's repurposed as a podcast later in the day. And he streams live to LinkedIn, YouTube, and all the places. So if you're ever interested in learning about podcasting, you can check it out there. But, I started my podcasting journey in 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020. And I looked around one day and I didn't have any customers. I own my own business and I didn't have any customers. Everybody stopped spending. And, we'll put this on hold for a few months, Sid. Well, we all know what a few months turned into. And so I said, well, what the heck am I going to do now? And I remember that I'd written in my journal, one day I'm going to have a podcast. One day I'm going to start a podcast. So I went to the University of YouTube and typed in, how do you start a podcast? And I bought the condenser mic, wrote out a script, and opened up my laptop and plugged that mic into my computer and talked directly into Anchor, which is now Spotify for creators, and published the worst, god-awfulest episode I've ever done.
I think we've all been there.
I mean, I tell people all the time, don't go back to the beginning, right? Please don't go back to the beginning. Because my very first episode, literally, James, I had pillows around me because I thought they would help with the sound, right? So I had pillows around me. But we launched this week, episode 195. And I'm recording episode 200 on Friday. And I have invited 4 listeners, people that I know that have listened from the beginning, that have been connected with me, that have never been on the show and would never necessarily be on the show, to come on the show as my guest. And we're going to have a listener roundtable. And the whole purpose of that is to celebrate the people that has made this success possible. Because without the listeners, I wouldn't have a show, right? So I want to celebrate the community of listeners. And I'm picked 4 that have been there from the beginning. And so I'm really excited about that. Recorded. Let's just hope I don't get too emotional. Okay. I was reading through the intro this morning. I'm like, okay, Sid, take a deep breath. Because it's episode 200, and that's such a milestone in the world of podcasting. And for your audience, my podcast is about office furniture. So it's a little bit of a very, very specific niche. We interview people and we talk about the future of the industry. So we talk about ideas and trends, and I bring people on that are doing really unique and different things, and I amplify voices within our industry. So
what I actually love about office furniture is now that we kind of live in this hybrid world, we don't just have office furniture in an office. We now have it at home. I'm sitting in it right now. I'm working on it right now. So I think the world of office furniture has potentially doubled in size because you just don't have people just working at home anymore.
Yeah, it's been an interesting few years. The side of the fence that I sit on is considered the contract side. The people on the contract side, which is the side I support through my businesses and my podcast, we don't sell retail. So if you buy a desk and a chair online through Amazon, you're not buying from the contract side. You're buying from the retail side. And neither side is necessarily better than the other. They're just different, and the way they go to market's different. The price points are different, and the way they sell is completely different. But it is definitely given our industry a little bit of exposure. The concept of hybrid working, a lot of people are talking about the workplace these days, how the workplace is designed. A lot of people are talking about these, let's call them recurring 5-day-a-week mandates to return to the office versus letting your staff work 3 days a week and 2 days at home and those kinds of things. There's a lot of conversation about our industry, which is actually really good, because when I meet people and tell them that I work in the office furniture industry, they're like, huh? What's that? I'm like, well, you see that office building over there? It's full of furniture. It didn't just magically show up. There's a whole industry that supports putting furniture inside that building industry.
I work in a business that, I'm hybrid. However, they're also going to build a brand new state-of-the-art building. So they're going to want to make sure that that's filled too. So if anyone wants to check out the trend report, we'll pop a link on the show notes. And also, if anyone wants to get into podcasting, we'll drop some links for the podcast morning show as well.
Oh, that's great. We love to see your face pop in on Clubhouse when we see they're like, oh, James is back. That's great. So we love having you come back. So come back as much as you can, okay?
Yes, definitely. Fun times. Okay, so we're here to talk about the World Cup. You are our American representative. This was a bumper expanded version of the World Cup. More teams than ever before. Talk about the final first. Now, I have watched a number of World Cup finals, Champions League finals, and FA Cup finals, and all these things. From my perspective, not the greatest game of football I've seen. What were your thoughts?
I'm going to really disappoint you here. Because I did not get to watch it.
Oh.
Because I was on an airplane. And so we were watching it. There were people that had their iPads out with the gate. And so everybody would hover around the ladies with the iPad. And we were all like peeking over trying to watch the game. So I saw the first 15 minutes of it, and then we boarded, and like everybody and their brother is trying to get on the Wi-Fi. And I happened to be flying on American Airlines from Costa Rica back to Dallas, Fort Worth, where I live, and get on to the entertainment. Guess what? No live TV.
Oh.
And I'm like, I looked at my wife and said, every other bloomin' flight has live TV. And they choose not to have live TV on the day at the time of the final of the World Cup. So I was like, oh my gosh. However, I will say I was pulling quietly for Spain to win. One of my favorite players, Pedro Porro, obviously plays for Spain. And I was really hopeful he was going to get to score a goal, because he scored the winning goal in the semifinal. And it was a beautiful goal. And so I was really hoping he was going to score, which he did not. So I was glad that Spain won. But I mean, it was in the 105th minute. It was going to extra time, as we say in the world of football.
So it was in extra time already.
Yes.
So everyone was thinking, right, we're gearing up for penalties.
So extra time
2 15-minute halves
Right. Yeah.
of
So it
extra
was in
time.
the second 15-minute half.
Yeah, second 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that part.
So yeah, it was. I mean, you didn't miss much. I'm going to be honest. You didn't miss much. It was a terrible game of football. It was not one that was to write home about. That's for sure.
Sure.
But there was a goal, though.
Well, there has to be to win, right? Somebody's got.
Well, we need to win. Yeah. Somebody has
win. But the interesting thing about this is the 3 games prior to the final, Argentina showed their cracks. Somebody was going to beat them. Who is it that could outlast them? England just really dropped the ball on that and should have beat them, because the 2 games prior to that, they came from 3 down in one game and 2 down in another game. There was a crack in that armor of the champion that basically said, okay, we could be beaten. And so Spain actually took advantage of that, finally.
I mean, Argentina have always been a physical team. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I think as long as they've had Lionel Messi, it's always been, Lionel Messi's getting hit around, so we're going to hit everyone else around. It's kind of been the thing. So, and they've kind of lived in that and died by that. They won, obviously, the last World Cup. One thing that I loved was, before the World Cup, the manager was asked, are you going to win the World Cup? And he said, no, we're going to retain the World Cup. And I just loved that mindset of, it's ours. We own it, and we're taking it back.
Yeah. Unfortunately, España got it. So,
well, yeah, it didn't quite work. Didn't quite work. The next World Cup, one of the hosts for the next World Cup is Spain. A nice kind of thing for them. Going to go into that and actually be hosting it. We've heard some new details actually just in the last few days. That not only are there going to be games in 3 countries, also across another continent. Paraguay, Argentina, and Uruguay are all going to host, or they were going to host 1 game each. However, that has now changed because they're talking about expanding the size of the World Cup to 64 teams. So I actually like it, because then you get countries like the Congo, you get Cape Verde, they played against Argentina, scored a goal.
Let's talk about Cape Verde. I mean, holy cow, the world was pulling for, except the country of Argentina was pulling for Cape Verde. Like, we're jumping up and down. And when that guy scored that goal, I remember saying, holy beep, to my wife, like, he scored that. Like, it was so beautiful. Right. And then that goalie, oh my gosh, that goalie, and just everything. We love underdog stories. That was certainly an underdog story. We thought until the final whistle, it looked like they were going to pull it off, right? So,
yeah. But again, that talks to, you can't ever count them out. And they reminded me of a Brazil of like 1998, 2002, when, they didn't maybe look brilliant, but they would grind games out. And to win a World Cup, you have to.
Sure.
They obviously only got as far as the final. Spain, though, deserved winners. Absolutely deserved to win. They were the best team throughout the tournament. France, actually, I would say Spain and France were probably the 2 of the better teams.
I thought it was going to come down to Spain and France. And honestly, I remember watching France play, I forget who it was, and I'm like, these guys are unbeatable. They're unbeatable. They were playing so good, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, they're going to win it, because they lost the last time to Argentina.
So, now they lose to Spain in the semis. So England, let's give them a mention. So I don't know if you've heard me go on this rant before. You may have on Clubhouse at some point. But in Scotland, we run a clock. And when the first broadcast of the World Cup comes on, we take bets on how long it takes an England commentator or presenter to mention 1966. Okay.
That's hysterical.
So this time it took them about an hour. Wow. Like, I've watched World Cups. In fact, I've watched European Championships where it's taken them, we've not won anything since 1966. So like, and they say it in their opening monologue. This time I was watching ITV in the UK, and it was about an hour before 1966 was mentioned. I was quite impressed this year. However, before the game against Argentina, they kept reminding us, like, well, this is going to be like a great result for us. And then they lost. And then there was all the sack, Big Tam. In Scotland, Tom Tuchel gets called Big Tam. I've just adopted that name because Tam is Tom in Scotland. So Big Tam was getting berated by the English media. And then he goes out and wins against France. And that's actually England's best World Cup finish since 1966. So they just mention that all the time now.
Part of the way I got into football is because of Harry Kane and one of the World Cups. And then I started following him, and that's how I became a Tottenham fan. And but the team that played France, where was that team that played Argentina? Like that's like, it's like two different teams, but some amazing players. And I wanted to reach through the TV screen and choke Gareth Southgate. Why play defense? Go score.
Oh,
Dude, why are you playing defense? Go score. Quit waiting for penalties. That's what they were playing to get into overtime and then into penalties. Like, and you didn't play like 1 minute of it. You played like 25 minutes of it. And guess what happened? Argentina beat you. Because they have this guy that can like his body movements, his feet movement. He's like, I don't know how he does all that. Right?
I mean, there is that. Yeah, he's 39. And the thing was, he knew he was not going to be able to score because as soon as he got on the ball, as soon as he went near the box, he's getting well defended. So he would just go out and just cross it in. And that's how Argentina won. Yeah, Big Tam, unfortunately. But England's best World Cup results since 1966. So well done to England. But I have a fun fact for you.
I have a question for you too. So you tell your fun fact, I'm asking you a question.
So fun fact is, the first game, 1966 World Cup final that England won, the next game they played Scotland, and Scotland won. So technically we were then the unofficial World Cup champions. This is the way I see it.
I was pulling for you, man. I was pulling for you.
What is your question, man? Go for it.
So who is the standout player for the England squad?
You're going to say Harry Kane.
Nope.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
I was wicked disappointed in his performance in the last couple of games. It was like kind of lackluster.
I actually think a player who maybe started actually off a little slow but got better was Jude Bellingham.
He is so good. Like, hey, so Jude, I want to be there one day when they're singing that song to him, right? He is phenomenal. I wish he played in the Premier League, honestly. But to me, the standout player of the whole tournament for England, Jed Spence.
Yeah. You know what was funny? You say that because there was one of the early group games and England weren't doing that well. And you were kind of like, well, what are they doing here? And Spence had done something, like he'd given the ball away. It was just a silly thing. And they got it straight back. But Big Tam, Thomas Tuchel, was all over him, berating him. And I was like, man, what are you doing that for? And then he ended up taking him off as a substitute. But one thing I will say about that England squad, unlike the Scottish squad, they took a lot of younger players. A lot of younger players were taken, which is good to see. Because sometimes in British football, there's a bit of nepotism. It's one for the boys. Craig, on our previous episode, kind of talked about, the Scotland squad was made up of old players. And it's just because they've been around for so long, I'll just take them. Mm-hmm. Whereas I do like that Gareth Southgate did this as well, in all fairness. It's not a new thing. But bring the youth in. Like, they might not play, but they get the experience. And then you get Arsenal players like Saka and stuff, like getting that opportunity. And now he looks like a world beater when he plays. He suffered some injuries and stuff throughout the World Cup. I like the makeup of I like the way that the team goes about it. Maybe not so much the media, because I have to hear about 1966 every 5 minutes. But I like the makeup of their team. I thought, could they go on and win this World Cup? Because they did look so good. I think the worry you've got now is Harry Kane in 4 years' time is 4 years older. strikers don't. Lionel Messi's obvious and Ronaldo are probably outliers. Tend not to play into their 40s, but you know, if Harry Kane can keep fit and keep playing for Bayern or move wherever else and play regularly, then he should make another World Cup.
Let's hope so. I mean, I love it. I love the World Cup. It's so fun.
It is. Now, you went to a game in Dallas.
I did.
What was the name of the stadium?
The official name of the stadium is AT&T Stadium. The World Cup name of the stadium is Dallas Stadium. So ironically, we got invited to go by, my wife is a large customer for AT&T. And so we got actually invited to go by AT&T.
Nice.
And we were sitting with her VP that's over her company. And he was pissed. Like, even on your map, like if you picked up your phone and you went into your maps to get to the stadium, I would type in AT&T Stadium or Cowboys Stadium, because that's how we refer to it here. No. It pops up as Dallas Stadium. I'm like, well, I hope we're going to the right place, because I didn't realize what they had done. So we get there, and then I see, like, I look up at the building. I'm like, what is that stuff on top of the roof? And Teresa, my wife's like, oh, they covered up AT&T. And then her VP was not happy, because I mean, these brands pay
millions,
poodles of money for their names to be everywhere on these buildings. But man, they covered them all up everywhere. I get it from a business perspective, but honestly, it's just kind of silly.
I think you're right. Obviously, FIFA's directive was that you are not a sponsor of the World Cup, therefore you have to remove that if you want to host games in that stadium. We've seen it at Foxborough, Gillette. We've seen it at Levi's Stadium in San Francisco. So it wasn't just Dallas. As a Cowboys fan, I've got my Dak Prescott jersey. I should have worn it for this show. It was like, Dallas Stadium. I'm sure they're playing this in AT&T. I've not heard of a Dallas Stadium before. And then it started coming out on social media. I don't know if you've seen it. Great marketing from Levi's, Gillette, and
I saw Gillette, the Levi one, yeah.
But the Gillette one had shaving foam over it, which I thought was funny. There was a few brands kind of got their own back on FIFA.
Yeah.
To be fair, the non-profit organization that's probably the richest in the world, not allowing team, because it was England playing France, and they did like a flyover of Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Stadium, and you could actually see the outline of Hard Rock in the
if you know the logos, you could figure out what they were covering up, right?
Yeah.
If you know, and so many of these brands are household names.
Yes,
if you knew the logo, you could,
and that's why they're there. That's it. So you went to Netherlands versus Japan. What was the atmosphere like for you, as a neutral fan as well? Because obviously Netherlands, Japan, not country you're from.
I'm a big fan of Mickey van de Ven, playing on the Netherlands, right? And going in, I was super excited. All this orange crowd everywhere. And we'd seen on TV about the marching down the street and how they were at the Rangers Stadium, which is next door to the Cowboys Stadium. And they were marching there. And I'm all excited, and got lots of empty beer cans and stuff laying around as we were walking into the stadium. So we get in there, and it's pretty electric. And we were there an hour or so before. Finally got to our seats, which were actually really, really good seats. And then the announcer does something, and the Netherlands crowd singing their chant, and super energetic. And that's what I'm expecting. And, we did see the orange bus on our way out, which I wanted to see the orange bus. Like, that's kind of iconic with the Netherlands, right?
Yeah.
And so it started out really good, but I'm going to tell you, I think most people that went to the game will agree with me. I was wicked disappointed in the Netherlands fans.
Oh, really?
Japan, outmatched them. They were loud. Really? They were singing nonstop. They had their drum, and they're banging on their drum. I mean, they are nonstop making noise and doing what you would expect that the Netherlands fans were going to be doing. We were sitting closer to them. Not a single drum, nothing going on over there. I told my wife, I'm like,
weird.
Yes.
Yeah, you're actually usually up for it.
No,
Hmm.
Japan outdid them. It was fun to watch the
weird.
Japan, the
Well, yeah.
Japan fans. We were sitting around a couple of them too, but I mean, it just so special to be able to say, I've been to a World Cup game. May never get that chance again, right? But to be
Yeah.
able to say I've been to a World Cup game, it's something that we will not forget anytime soon.
Definitely not. It looked like a good game, and obviously got lots of goals. It was 2-2, so you got 4 goals out of it, which was pretty decent. When you watch it on TV, you don't always get like the sounds of the crowd and stuff.
Yeah.
There was a couple of games up in Foxborough that we did definitely hear the fans. And if you were a Boston Red Sox fan, on one night in between Scotland playing Haiti and Morocco, you would have heard Sweet Caroline being sung and stuff on the TV. And I think the announcers for that Red Sox game were like, can you hear us down the microphones? Because there's so much noise in the stadium and we're not used to this.
That's great.
They took over. But yeah, it just surprised me about the Netherlands fans because they're usually kind of one of the most popular fan groups. To be fair, the Japanese, I think, are one of the most popular as well.
Mm-hmm.
I met Japanese fans back in France '98. I was going on a basketball tour to Spain, and we drove through France to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And we stopped at a truck stop, and it was Japanese and Jamaica were about to play, and there was loads of Japanese fans, and even like coming off their coaches and stuff, they had their drums and stuff. I speak highly of the Japanese. They follow their team, and they are definitely.
Did you see the news story about them after the game?
No. What happened?
Very positive, very inspiring news story.
Yeah. Okay.
They stayed and cleaned up the stadium. They all had blue bags with them.
Blue
and
bags.
They went through, the blue bags, and they went through AT&T or Dallas Stadium and helped with the cleanup because that's cultural for them, right? That's what they do after their games. And so I thought, wow, us Americans, we just like walk out the door.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I was being rude. But
the Tartan Army got the same because not in the stadiums, I don't think, but obviously there's lots of local parks and stuff, and the Tartan Army were like drinking in the parks. And apparently the cleaners turned up on the Monday morning, and all of the garbage, the bins were full. And what they'd done was, throughout the park, they just stacked all the rubbish in one place. So all the bin men and cleaners had to do was come just scoop it up, and it was gone. That. And I was like, that's respectful. That's respectful. And the Japanese are a very respectful nation. So
yes.
Fair play to them for that.
So you guys left your mark on us, though.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
There's ever been any professional sports game, whether it's with a different country coming over or just a fan base coming over, and basically buys all the beer in an entire city before the bar is actually technically open, I think. But like, I remember the news reports, we're out of beer. Sorry, don't come in. We're out of beer. So,
and it wasn't even just the bars. The brewery was out of beer. I mean, that's something. And this is a city that hosts like St. Paddy's Day, and like they go through obviously quite a lot of beer for that.
Yep.
And they had been warned, you need to order more before. And this, I think this was like a local government person who had said this. If the Scottish are coming over, we need to make sure you've got more beer. And I did see one thing on social media, and it came through like a local news station. And the Tartan Army turned up to a bar, and the guy's like, I'm clean out. I'm going to have to go to the wholesalers. And a bunch of the Tartan Army said, well, we'll come with you and give you a hand. And like, and you see like this trail of like beer getting passed along into the bar.
All these guys in kilts walking around carrying cases of beer on their shoulders. I love that. And I will say to every country in the world that was represented as an American, I will say to each of you, thank you for sharing your culture with us. Thank you for sharing your people with us. Thank you for showing us more of the world, because right now we live in a bit of a shadowed box. And so I really appreciate, and I think most Americans would agree with me, we really appreciated getting to meet the people that came over, getting to experience their culture and their traditions. And I can tell you, I mean, just another example. You couldn't name a football fan that does not want to do the row with Norway.
With Norway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like that. But that's what I mean about sharing your culture with us, your traditions with us, and your people with us. And it is something, I'll generalize, but it is something that I believe as American citizens we needed. And the World Cup came to us at the right time. So thank you all very much for coming over and hanging out with us.
I think that's what the World Cup has always been about. And I think even as a kid, like I had France 98 and so forth. And like you watch Scotland fans go out and have a great time. And Scotland were in a unique position where they were playing their first two games in Boston. And in between those games were other games. So you had the Iraq team coming in, you had Norway coming in, and there was this kind of mix as well, which I think was brilliant. So you're absolutely right. I think the World Cup is a cultural phenomenon that only happens once every 4 years. You don't really see it with the Olympics.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously you've got the Olympics in LA, in 2 years. So I think that'll be very different though.
Well, we don't have the Olympics, if they're in multiple cities, it's not like what was here for the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
Not like that. And it doesn't bring the same magnitude of fans.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
Right.
If football has a very, very loyal fan base.
It does, yes.
Yep.
I kind of liken it to college football in the States. Like college football, like my dad played for Cal State, so he is like diehard Golden Bear. And like for us as Scots, diehard Scottish, we'll follow Scotland wherever they go, and there's songs about that. But one thing that did come out over the last couple of days, it was the FIFA Fair Play Award. And this is an award that is given to a fan base that kind of exemplifies like all the goodness that you want to see at these types of tournaments. The last time Scotland won it was actually when they were at the World Cup the last time in 98, which was in France. And over the last couple of days, it was announced that they have won it again.
Wow.
Which is phenomenal. And it goes to not just actually what you've seen on TV and the outgoing, like picking up trash and all the rest of it, but actually also the charity work. The Tartan Army donated about $10,000 to local charities in Boston.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And there was a guy, Craig Ferguson. I watched him. He walked from Los Angeles to Boston on foot the entire way to raise money for men's mental health. And he raised over £1 million.
Wow.
Which was absolutely phenomenal.
That's
Obviously, the whole point of it was that he would get to Boston for the opening game, for Scotland's opening game against Haiti. And all the way he's walking. And what was funny is because I have so many friends and stuff in the States, and he's walking through Denver. And then like he's just walking, and he's telling his story as he goes on all these kind of social media clips. But I think like that's the kind of legacy that the Tartan Army and Scotland fans in general tend to bring to tournaments. And it's nice to be able to say that we've come to a World Cup, because we missed out in 94 when the World Cup was in the US the last time. We missed out that time because we didn't qualify. So it was nice to qualify for this US. And I will say, as someone who kind of doesn't have official dual nationality, I was back and forth to America since I was a kid. So I've always, a World Cup, if Scotland aren't there, I'll follow the US. I must say it was nice to be able to follow my own country for a change. So that was nice.
I don't know the U.S. team was worth watching outside of their first game, because we got all excited about how they played the first game, and then it went downhill from there.
It did. That was sad. So, I love how you spoke about like the fans, not just obviously the Tartan Army, but like and the culture of the world basically dropping in on the US for 6 weeks. That's phenomenal. But you spent some time in London earlier this year. You mentioned already that you're a Tottenham fan, and you and your daughter got to visit. You got to visit the new Tottenham Stadium. I covered NFL games a few years ago for the old podcast. Tottenham won. They beat Everton, who, by the way, are my team. So thanks for that. But how does that kind of compare to like a Premier League game in a country that is very used to playing football, to seeing a World Cup game, certainly in a stadium that probably doesn't see too much soccer?
So when we got the tickets to see Tottenham play, she's living in London and looks like she's going to stay for at least a year after she finishes school this summer. And so I was just going to visit her and hang out with her. And there's also a furniture event there called Clerkenwell Design Week. So I was doing two things at once, visiting her the first weekend, working the middle of the week, and then visiting her on the last weekend. And my business partner went over as well. Her nephew was there. And I said, hey, do you guys want to go to a Tottenham game? This is like in February. And she goes, sure. So we bought the tickets. Thought we were up like 20 rows up or something, right? Or maybe even up one more level. And we got there. That was not the case. We were on the first row at midfield. I was blown away, like, oh, wow. We were facing west. We had on the east side and facing west. Said, dude, it is so hot. Oh my God. It's the heat wave in London. And no rain, no clouds, like sun, typical, not typical for London, mind you. But the energy was spectacular. I mean, I was so excited to go to that game. I've been a fan for many years and never been to a Premier League game. I'd never seen Tottenham play, even in like a preseason or anything, and are a friendly. And so, like, this was a bucket list for me. And when we bought the tickets, we had no idea of the impact of that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have known in February when we bought the tickets that that game would be the game. If they win, they stay up. If they lose, they go down, because West Ham was winning. You could see everybody looking at their phone, checking the score of the West Ham game. And then it was tied. And then it was West Ham up. And then it was like 3-0 West Ham. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so crazy. And so the energy was great. The lady sitting next to me, the fans were yelling something, chanting something. And I tapped her on the shoulder. I said, what are they saying? She goes, oh, you don't want to know. It's not nice.
It's not nice, though.
It's not nice. And I said, okay. She goes, it's actually a slang that's been around for a really long time. And I didn't press her on it. The perspective that I got, I mean, being outside, the people outside, like waiting for the players to come in on the bus, like cheering and chanting and the energy. And then we get inside, we get into the store. I had to buy me some gear, but which that was the madhouse. Then we get into the stadium, and so we get our seats. It was weird that you can't take your beer into the stand. You have to finish it.
Yeah, you would find that weird, yeah.
And they take the cap off the water bottle.
Yes.
You can't, like, okay, if I'm going to throw the cap at the players, I'm just going to throw the whole bottle at the player, but you don't take my bottle. It doesn't make a lot of sense to just keep the cap, but okay. But yeah, it was pretty electric. And just being there again, it was a bucket list for me. And it's just something I will never, ever forget. And when they scored, the place went crazy, right? And I wish we were sitting up a little bit so we could have seen the field a little bit better.
Yeah.
On the first row, you're looking at the player level basically.
Yeah.
But the perspective, when you watch it on TV on Saturdays or Sundays here in the US, when you watch it on TV, you get great views, great angles. You hear the commentators, and you get to hear what they're talking about, VAR, and they're showing all the replays and all of that. And it's a physical game, because it really is a physical game. But when you're there and you see these guys, how fast they're running, how the athleticism of what they're doing as they're dribbling the ball down the field, you get a whole new perspective of what it means to be a professional athlete when you're there in person watching them. It is so different than watching them on TV. So different.
I mean, I can say that as well from the NFL perspective. Watched it on TV for decades. And then, a few years ago, I get a media credential, Jags, Broncos, and I'm sitting in the press box. So you you get a pretty decent view from the press
Yeah,
box,
yeah,
to be fair.
of course you do. Yeah.
At Wembley Stadium. And exactly the same. And then you go into the press conference afterwards and you see actually these guys up close and personal, like Russell Wilson. You know, on TV, he just
Yep.
looks like a guy. In person, he looks like
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah, this is yeah, that's so true. Your question had to do with comparison to the World Cup.
Yeah. The
I
atmosphere,
would going to the World Cup was also a bucket list thing, right?
Yeah.
Because you just got to go to the World Cup. But what I'll tell you is I think maybe it's because I'm a fan of Tottenham. I think the experience all around was much better. Watching Tottenham play versus going to the World Cup. But I loved going to the World Cup. But I like we'll never get a chance to go to the World Cup again. But I can go to see Tottenham play again. As long as my daughter lives in London, I can tell you every time I'm going over there, and every time there's a game, we're going to be going to that game, right? If I could only pick like one to go back to, if I only had one chance to go back to see either a World Cup game or a Tottenham game, I would choose Tottenham unless it was England versus the United States. Then I would choose the World Cup. But yeah, but it was great.
That's fair. They have a great fan base. They have their quirks. I mean, you find that with Premier League teams anyway. Like the fan bases have their own things going on, which is good. So no, I'm glad you got to come over and enjoy a Tottenham game. I have not been to a Tottenham game. I've been to a few Everton games, but Tottenham never involved. My parents are Tottenham fans. They obviously watch the Tottenham games out in the States as well. So they're big Tottenham fans. And when they were in London, I want to say pre-COVID, they went to Tottenham and seen some games. I think did they see two? I think they might have went to two because there was one at the weekend and there was one midweek. So they got to see two, and they loved it. My mom had been before. All I'm going to say
about this is all of you people that were wishing us to go down, you really now wish that we had gone down, because what the heck of a recruiting transfer window we have had. And Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, look out, boys, because we're coming back to the top. Like these signings, I don't know half of who these people are, but these signings, everything I hear and see from my favorite Tottenham creators, like this is pretty epic. I'm kind of sad to see Christian Romero go, but I also understand because he's leaving, departing. I'm really sad to see Lucas Bergwijn go. He is such a great young player, got so much football ahead of him, and I'm really sad to see him go, but it does look like he's going to go to Newcastle.
It's tough. Football's a tough game when it comes to players. You see it with the NBA and the NFL now, where players used to stay at the same team, like Troy Aikman.
Yep.
Dallas Cowboys' entire career. Mm-hmm. And, even in the UK back in the same days, players would stay at the same club for the most of their career. And maybe like the last couple of years, they go play somewhere else.
Yep.
But for the majority of play in one place. Mm-hmm. But we're seeing it now. One of the England players, Anthony Gordon, was at Everton. Then he was at Newcastle. Now he's at Barcelona. Players do move around.
Bergwijn's going to be a star. He's going to be a star. And I mean, he's only barely 20 years old, or maybe 21 years old. He is going to be a star. And wherever he can go to be developed, honestly, I think in 5 years, Tottenham's going to be wishing they had only put him out on loan and could bring him back, because he's going to be that good. Right. So that's my opinion.
I think it comes down to the money side of the game. And unfortunately, I'll tell you one bit of business that was done years ago. Rangers got a free transfer, Jean-Alain Boumsong, French player. They bought him they signed him in August, and in the January transfer window sold him to Newcastle United for £10 million. So got him for nothing, made £10 million. And that was a long time ago. But clubs look at that now, and I don't know how much you've seen of Wrexham and their story.
A little bit.
A little bit. Like they've went from signing players for £1,000 to signing players for £11 million.
Yeah.
Like there's so much money involved in football. Sometimes I think it takes the shine off it, but it's unfortunately the world we live in.
Yeah.
So we just put up with it. It's the world of sports. But no, I'm glad you had fun in London. If you are planning a trip back, let me know ahead of time, and I can try and maybe come down. I'm on the pints. Cheers. Loving that. By the way, if you can keep up.
I will not even try, James. I will not even try. Because, clocks start getting close to 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm going to be like doing the Irish exit. I got to go to the bathroom and just make my way back to my hotel to go to bed, dude.
Well, I'm sure we could have you once for a late night.
Yeah.
Last thing, what was your biggest highlight of this World Cup? What's the one thing that if I was to ask you in 10 years' time, what do you remember about that World Cup? What would that be for you?
It's a really great question, and my answer might surprise you. Okay. What I'm going to remember is Erling Haaland and his social media antics.
Oh,
the
okay.
guy is, I'm not on Snapchat, but all of his Snapchats get posted on Instagram. And just like the things he did to like humanize football, right? To just take it easy and relax and have fun with it. Like to me, that's something you're not going to forget. It was so much fun. And we're at a time in the world where laughter is really good medicine. And we all need more smiles, more joy, and obviously more laughter. And he certainly brought that. So right now, my final answer, I'm going to remember him and all of his shenanigans on social media because it's been really fun to watch.
Yeah.
That's probably not what you expected me to say, is it?
No, it's not. I love it, though. There's a fun story with Haaland. I don't know if you know his dad played for Manchester City.
Yes.
Yeah. Roy Keane, who's one of the pundits in the UK, was covering a Norway game. And he tends not to talk about Erling Haaland. He just says he's a really good player. I think pretty much ended his dad's career with a swipe and a kick. He has since had to pay a fine for that because he wrote it in his book that it was intentional. But, fun story. But Sid, thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me. I've been looking forward to it. And as soon as I seen that you'd been at a game, I thought, I have to ask Sid to come on. So absolutely loved having you on. And you know what? Who says that when the Premier League starts, we maybe throughout the season at some point have you back? Let's talk about Tottenham and the Premier League.
Let's do it.
Let's do that. But for now, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Thank you, James. I enjoyed being here. Appreciate you, buddy.